Hey guys, welcome back to Crib Designs by Twitch, or if you're new here, welcome. You'll have to bear with me because it's been like a week and a half or 2 weeks or something like that since I've actually recorded anything like this, because I've been working on other things. But anyway, I'm not going to ramble on. So today I'm participating in the Halloween challenge hosted by Meg over at Lovely Jubbly Furniture. I will put the link to her channel in the description of this video along with the full playlist for the challenge. You know how this works if you've been here before. Yeah. Oh no, he was right. I trimmed my fringe this morning and my husband kept at me about my fringe being crooked, and he's right, it's crooked. And now it's all I can see. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to ramble on. So I could have picked a really simple tall boy that I've got here that would have been pretty straightforward. I could have painted it black and then maybe like put some stripes or cobwebs on it. No. No. All right. So what I've gone for instead is something that is filthy and probably needs a bit of work once I pull everything out and discover problems with it. But I'm going to do the best I can, and I've only got like 2 or 3 days to do it. So, cheers. This is going to take a lot of coffee, and hopefully I can get it done. Alright, so the first thing I always do when I'm starting a project is remove anything that is going to get in the way or is getting rid of completely. I don't know what I thought it was, but I saw movement and it scared the crap out of me. It was just an old knob rolling around in the drawer. Okay, so I was planning on keeping the top part and the mirror, but when I went to remove it, a couple of the screws came out alright, but one of them didn't want to budge. So I had a bit of trouble with that, and then the whole thing, like by the time I got it off, the whole thing ended up falling apart in all different places. But it's okay because one of the things that I was trying to consider whilst working on the design for this piece is to try and make it Halloween themed somewhat, but also trying to make sure that it is still sellable. As much as I love the mirror and the top that was on this, and I did originally want to keep it all together, partially because I like the look of it, but also because I like to try and keep original pieces all in one piece. Things with mirrors and stuff do tend to sell better without the mirror and all of that jazz. That's what I find anyway, and I think a lot of people do. But so now you know the mirror and the top part is gone, so I'll have to fill these, but I'll deal with that after I've cleaned everything. Not sure, bit of lag there. Not sure if you noticed as well, but a couple of the handles were missing parts. So here and that one there, I think those are the only two that are missing parts. And I love these handles. So the fact that I'm not going to be using these little drawers anymore means that I can take the two handles off those and use them for the top drawers. Those ones off the small drawers are slightly smaller, but it's okay because I have a plan. Always have a plan. It'll work. And as much as I hate wearing gloves because they get caught in everything and I just don't like them, there's mouse poop everywhere, so I'm wearing gloves. So an issue I know a lot of people run into with old handles like this is when they've got these pin style screws. more often than not, they are actual just pins and not screws, but in this case, they are screws, and luckily they are super easy to remove. But if you end up with the ones that are pins and not screws, you can just pry them out. Just be careful about it, and hopefully you won't break your handles. Okay, I'm not going to show you all of the cleaning because it's probably going to take me all day because I'll do 2 lots of cleaning. But I just wanted to show you, this is what I'm dealing with. Any guesses which side I've cleaned? That is the filth I'm dealing with. And I've only just done this drawer, not even finished this drawer, and the water is already brown. So that is why I'll be doing 2 lots of cleaning. But I am scrubbing the life out of this thing. Yeah, fun stuff. Alright, so a bit of dirty water action. This is 2 washes with Millie Clean Cut. I could probably go again, but I really don't want to, and some of it is probably tannin, so this will do. Whilst everything is drying, it's a good opportunity for me to plug these holes up. So I'm just drilling them with a 6mm drill bit for my 6mm dowel plugs and gluing them in, just giving them a tap down. And then once I'm done doing that, I'll just go through with a damp rag and wipe up all the excess glue. I'll leave that to sit for a little bit and then I'll go and cut the tops off. I also wanted to fill any gaps that might be surrounding the dowel plugs. I was going to just use wood putty, but that had apparently dried up because I hadn't put the lid on properly, so I'm using Bondo. I couldn't find any scrap cardboard or anything to mix it on, so I slapped some tape onto the top of this surface and just mixed it on that. By no means am I aiming to get this piece perfect, I just don't want these circles on the back part of this to stick out like dog's nuts, so yeah. Check out this easy cleanup. Couldn't get any easier. So I wasn't originally planning on sanding any of this, but because of all the scrubbing and the water and everything, all of the fibres have lifted, so I'm smooth sanding everything so that I've got a nice base to work on. My voice keeps going. And obviously you could see how rough and uneven the surface was, and I just don't like painting on an uneven surface. I was going to paint this entire piece, but seeing how nice the wood is on top after uncovering it, I'm leaning towards doing kind of like a partial wood stain on top. You'll see what I mean when I do it. Alright, so this is where we're at today. This is the next day. And it's all cleaned and sanded and ready to go. I also glued this back into place because it was coming off. But she's looking heaps better. She even smells better. Like that musty, old, damp smell is gone. Thank you, Millie Clean Cut. Alright, it is finally time to start painting, and I will be doing the 2 top drawers in a different style and colour, so those 2 are coming out before I get started. For the body of this piece, I'm using Millie Boutique Mineral Paint in the colour Black Bear. It is one of my favourite colours to use, or shade, and I'm using mental blank. Brush keeper. I'm using a 12mm brush keeper brush and my 2 Fussy Blokes roller with a smooth roller sleeve for the larger areas. This 2 Fussy Blokes roller was gifted to me by the lovely Angela, and I've used it so much more than I ever would have expected to use a roller. It has just saved so much time and works so well, and I love it. So I was planning on distressing the Black Bear parts, I do love a bit of distressing, but I might actually leave it as is because the solid black, I'm just sitting here staring at it right now whilst I do this, and the solid black is just absolutely gorgeous. You never know, I might change my mind later once all the other features are in place and decide to distress it, but I'd rather just leave it like this now because I can always come back and distress it later. So I just want to take a minute to thank Trina, Denise Decker and Jane for all buying me coffees in the Buy Me a Coffee app. I appreciate it and thank you so much. If anyone else is interested, you can find the link to that and my Amazon wishlist in the description. As I said previously, I wanted to do something different on the two top drawers, and I'm going to start by putting down a base of Charlie Latte, and I'm going to do 2 coats of this. And once that was nice and dry, I just grabbed a piece of 240 grit sandpaper and distressed all the edges and corners. So in case you hadn't figured it out yet, I am doing stripes. Stripes are pretty much a given for Halloween. They fit the theme really well, and I love stripes. I spent ages trying to work out the best way to get my layout for my stripes and to get them even, and I didn't want them super thin and I didn't want them super chunky, but this is what I worked out in the end, and some might not like it, but I love it, and it was a way for me to do them in kind of a unique way and not have to worry about whether they are, you know, exact, and they end up working out really well. Before I go in with my second colour, I'm going over the edges of the tape with Charlie Latte again to avoid any bleed through. So my second colour for the stripes will be the Old Place in the Millie Boutique Mineral Paint range. It is a beautiful rich red, but it is considered a bright, so it is on a clear base, not a white base. So I think I did 3 coats of this and a couple of spot coats in some places. So this is the result of the striping so far, and at this point I am really excited about it. Next I do some more distressing around the edges, and I focus most of it on the corners. You also tend to end up with prominent ridges when you do stripes after you take your tape off, so I just run my sandpaper vertically along the length of the stripes just to smooth down those edges and anything else. I mist them with a bit of water and then just give them a wipe over to clean them up again. I wanted my edges to be a bit more gnarly and roughed up, so I just grabbed my paint scraper and, roughed them up a bit and just scraped it along that edge. The stripes were still looking a bit too clean and fresh, so I made a mix of Millie in the colour Green Olives and Black Bear to make a wash. So to get this grungy and grimy look, I basically brushed on a couple of layers of the wash and wiped it off, running along the same length of the stripes, and just kept building up the layers until I was happy with the colour. I wanted it to be grimier and grungier around the corners and edges, so I kind of just dabbed it on, mostly on the corners and along the edges, and then dabbed that off. If you want it to be darker, just let it dry for a couple of seconds before you go dabbing it off. Don't wipe it because you'll just wipe off the layers that are underneath. I also did a little bit of this and just kept adding details and a bit more grime, and just kept working on it in layers until I was happy with it. Okay, so I will come back to the drawers later. For now, I'm moving on to the sides of this dresser. and I decided that the drawer fronts weren't going to be enough to cut it for the Halloween challenge, and decided to do a blend on the sides. So my original plan was to go for like a flesh toned, like an old grungy flesh toned blend on the sides, like a panel, and to do like traditional tattoos on the sides, like old flash tattoos. And I was really keen on that, but it would have taken so much more time than what I had. So I kind of changed my plan partway through. There was a lot of blending. It took me hours and hours to blend, but basically it started off as Charlie Latte, and then I made my own mix, which is kind of like a flesh tone mix, and blended that in. Again, took ages. I'm not putting it all in this because it would have, made this video way too long, but this is basically what I ended up with. Once that was dry, I decided it was too pristine and bright, so I used Millie washed away stain in the colour How Now, mixed it with some water and used it like a wash, and basically brushed it vertically and then let it sit for a couple of seconds and then wiped it back. So I basically did one coat where I wipe it off to get the vertical grain, and then once that was dry I brushed on another coat and then used a misting bottle to spray it, and then used my cloth to dab it off and kind of blend it in around the edges a bit, to continue with that grungy, grimy look. So I didn't originally start off with an actual theme. I just know I wanted it to be like a carnival theme, and then I was like, hang on, I absolutely love American Horror Story, right? But my favourite season so far is Freak Show. It is my absolute favourite. So I found this Freak Show font, grabbed some baking paper and copied it, traced it on the back of the paper, and basically rubbed it on like a transfer. It transferred enough that I could make out where it was, but didn't quite come out as good as if I used a pencil. For the shadowing of the letters, I'm using one of the newest colours in the Millie range, Derwent River. For the main colour, I'm using Millie Black Bear again. And then for these fancy little details, I'm using Posh Chalk pigments in Byzantine Gold, I think it is. I love the way this lettering turns out. I feel like the sides still need something a little more, but for now it's going to have to do because I'm crunched for time and I really want to get this done. So for now I'm moving on to the top. What I really wanted to do for the top was to leave the timber exposed, but I wanted to do like a halo around the top of it. So to do that I'm using Millie Black Bear and I'm mixing with a little bit of water, then I'm misting the surface, wiping it back, and kind of just brushing it on around the edges and blending it in with a clean brush. And this is it dry, so I'm just drying it with my heat gun so I can keep working. I just kept working on it and building it up mostly on those corners. I wanted the corners to be really dark, and that back strip especially I wanted to be darker so that I could disguise those holes that I plugged up. Once that was all dry, I went over the whole surface with a lighter black wash, and then I let that dry and did 2 coats of Millie washed away How Now. So I made the decision that the sides definitely needed something else going on with it to finish it off. So I'm doing a mix of the old place, and this is the last of what I've got. I also added some of the top coat into the bottle just to shake it up and get the last bit out and make it a little bit runnier. And then I added some black bear to it and mixed it up because I wanted it a darker red, like, you guessed it, blood. This is gonna be fun. I'm sure some people probably find this trashy, but whatever, man, I'm having fun. This is my piece and I'm doing my thing. At first I was going to like plan it all out and do a lot more detailed painting and make them specific and really pretty, but you know what? This was a lot more fun and didn't take anywhere near as long. I also decided I wanted the stripes to be a bit more bluey green and not just green, so I used Derwent River to do another wash over the top of the stripes. And now it's getting down to the pointy end, which means it's time to seal everything. I'm using Millie Boutique Satin Topcoat. I had to think about it for a second, and for the bulk of the areas I'm using my Too Fussy Blokes roller. Yes, the same one I used to paint with. I gave it a really good clean, let it dry overnight, and it was good to go again. And just using a small to medium sized brush for the parts that the roller doesn't get to. The roller, I find, is the best way to get a streak-free finish in my top coat. Moving on to the handles, I gave them a really good wash and a really good scrub with a fine wire brush to get rid of any loose rust, and just went over them with some rub and buff in, I think it's European Gold, and just used a stencil brush to brush that all over the place. It was a little bit too shiny and clean for me, so I buffed it and then put some black wax on, buffed that, and then just highlighted a couple of details again with the rub and buff. Whilst I put the finishing touches on, I just want to say a huge thank you to Meg from Lubbly Jubbly Furniture for hosting this challenge this year. I absolutely love this challenge, and as much as I rushed this piece, I just had to get a piece in for the challenge because Halloween is my jam. If you're not on the playlist yet, head over there, start from the first video and work your way through, get yourself some popcorn, get yourself a blanket, and start watching. There is going to be so much talent on show for this challenge, and I can't wait to see what everyone does. Don't forget to like and subscribe on every video and show everyone your support. As for my video, I hope you really enjoyed it. I know I did. I absolutely love this piece so much. It's turned out so much better than what I was expecting. And here is a quick reminder of what it looked like before. And here she is now in all of her Halloweeny glory. I completely forgot to take any before photos, but I've more than made up for it with after photos. Please don't forget to check the description for all products used, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee and my Amazon wishlist. And if you haven't done so already, please remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.